I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. I am just going to remind us of some of the forms of direct and digital marketing. So digital marketing would be online marketing, social media marketing, mobile marketing. Traditional marketing would be kiosk marketing, face-to-face marketing, telemarketing, catalog or direct mail marketing, so on and so forth. We use both types in an effort to build customer engagement and community. So that's a reminder before we get into some of the ethics or public policy issues behind them. So some public policy issues in direct and digital marketing, database marketing allows customers to receive offers that closely matches their interest, which might be a little bit of a problem because marketers might know a little bit too much about a person. They're able to match their interest too closely. So that is an issue. Online privacy is an issue, particularly for children. A lot of children do not have a filter, so they're unable to realize when they're being conned or when they're, maybe being defrauded. This is also true for older consumers, so not just younger consumers. And if marketers don't prevent privacy abuse, legislators may indeed step in. People have been calling for the government to step in when it comes to Facebook for quite a while now. We will see how that works out. Intellectual property tends to be a big deal when it comes to copyrighted or trademarked ideas. So these ideas and creative materials that are developed to solve problems, carry out applications, and educate and entertain others, people do take out trademarks on those, or yeah, mainly trademarks on those. However, consumers often engage in digital piracy, and when consumers do so, they have a lot of rationalizations that may or may not, make sense. They may say, "Hey, we don't have enough money, and that's why we're, ripping videos or music off the internet." They may say, "A lot of my friends do it, and so that's why I'm doing it." Or they want to engage in kind of digital swaps. They may think it's thrilling. This may be true for a small population of consumers, and then some do it because it allows them to show people how tech savvy they are. How many of us have seen, let's say, a pirated DVD of a movie, and some are definitely better than others. I'm not saying I condone this. I'm just saying that I too have seen pirated, digitally pirated videos. I would never kind of do anything like this myself. I just frankly don't even watch movies, so it would be useless. Other policy issues in direct and digital marketing: irritation, unfairness, deception, and fraud. Irritation, a lot of people get irritated with long, loud, insistent TV commercials, with junk mail and or spam, and or, computer bugs, these kind of things, or, ads that won't stop popping up. Unfairness, right? Being taken advantage of in terms of impulsive buying. I just read a tweet the other day that talked about wanting to take a pill that stops people from online shopping at night, right? Or you see other things online where people were complaining about how much money they spend online and how easy it is to just go online and click a button. Deception and fraud. We see this quite a bit. We see internet fraud, we see phishing, we see access by vulnerable. I'm sorry, we don't see that. I'm sorry. We see investment scams or phony collections, or for charity and things like this. One of the things that we know is that elder fraud is on the rise. A lot of elderly people are being scammed via email schemes, telephone calls, so on and so forth. We see the government trying to crack down on this, but it gets harder and harder because these fraudsters become more and more sophisticated. I spoke about invasion of privacy a few slides ago. I'm not going to go back over these points. I made them, as I said, a few slides ago, but they do help me lead into my next slide. So I wanted to remind us. Okay, so another issue, I almost botched it on another slide earlier, is access by vulnerable or unauthorized groups. So marketers often find it difficult to restrict access by vulnerable or unauthorized groups. There was an article the other day, I don't know if you saw it, of a little boy who went in online, and he clicked the buy now button, or the buy button on Amazon, and his mother had a huge amount of stuff in her shopping cart. I guess she was one of those people who just puts stuff in her shopping cart and then removes it and yada yada, which I do, but I don't do it to the extent that she does. She had $1,700 in her cart, and her son went in and clicked that button. A lot of people will say it's problematic, and it's because it's hard to restrict access to vulnerable or unauthorized groups on the internet. If you happen to leave your computer open while you go, to the restroom. I remember when I worked for my first job, this was a huge deal. If you got up, it's not a problem to leave your computer on, but you were supposed to lock your computer, even if you were stepping away for 10 seconds for this reason. But we can also think of other things like adult-oriented sites, and materials that people post online and that are accessed by minors. So, for example, Facebook or MySpace, which was a previous version of Facebook, had a lot of issues when they were talking about restricting access to young kids. A person who's 10 may or may not, be on Facebook, and we can argue about whether or not they should be, but technically they're not supposed to be, right? Some parents and some legislators and the population in general believes that there should be some kind of age restriction, and yet it's hard to implement. We could talk about elderly consumers and email fraud, right? I said this a minute ago, that elderly consumers are being scammed all the time, being defrauded all the time, and yet it's really hard to stop scammers. Marketers have tried. They've worked quite a bit with, information systems and computer science and coders and all of these people, and it's still hard to develop systems that are 100% when it comes to stopping email fraud, stopping access to email accounts, excuse me. We could also think of young children and sexualized or graphic content. I actually looked this up this morning before I recorded this lecture, and it is really gross if you look up the facts on young kids having access to sexualized content, how soon it starts, how soon it's shared, so on and so forth. And again, it's hard to restrict that access. Other issues in digital marketing, cookies, being able, where companies ask you to accept their cookies, and then they're able to actually, if they so choose, continue to monitor where you visit on the internet. That leads to behavioral targeting, where they're able to say, oh, this person typically clicks on ads that look, that include shoes, or this person really seems to like lifestyle sites, and so we're going to send her, lifestyle type of advertising. Remarketing ads. So if you go to Zappos and you look at a pair of shoes, then you go to Yahoo and you see those same shoes on the side as an advertisement, and then you go to the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal and you see those shoes as an advertisement. That is what they call remarketing, and that is really an issue. Location-based marketing, marketing that might pop up on your phone or your digital device based on where you are. And then, of course, just transparency of communicators. Who are you communicating with online? So here are some marketing practices that are unethical. Hiring incentivized agents from third parties to post reviews about products, so fake product reviews, using incentives to get people who are not using products, but who are on mailing lists to talk about products. So fake reviews in the sense that they are spreading them online, usually through, Instagram, chat, Snapchat, word of mouth on YouTube, so on and so forth, or sending unsolicited emails to customers. I can't tell you the number of times I have to list something as spam, but I won't go over all of these. But these are issues that are that come from word of mouth marketing practices. Marketers are looking for a variety of insights. So, opportunities for insights would include customer experience, customer attitudes, customer values, customer needs, customer perceptions, customer feelings, so on and so forth. An example of a company that absolutely uses as much information as they can get is Best Buy. One of the things they implemented a long time ago, in the earlier 2010s, was something they called Voice, which is a portal that allows them to actually upload information they hear directly from customers. And I should say that they're sales associates, so the people you see in the store. So if you go to buy a radio from Best Buy, and you make a comment, you know, your Best Buy agent may go in and plug it into this portal so that Best Buy understands that this is something that a customer has communicated. To glean customer insights, we can get them from a variety of places. But one of the places that we absolutely can get them from is marketing research, right? So, research facilitates discovering brand opportunities, brand positioning, so on and so forth. So, it's that area where customer insights can connect with brand insights to create a powerful understanding of what the brand offers that the consumer values. And so market research is extremely important. However, I wouldn't be talking about it if it did not come with ethical issues, which I'll talk about in the next slide. What I hope to do in the next 10, 20 slides is talk about some of the issues, particularly the ethical issues in marketing, and then offer a bit of a rebuttal against the idea that marketing um, practitioners engage in low ethics. So I'll start off talking about ethical issues in marketing research. So there are ethical issues in marketing research. I cannot tell a lie. One would be reliability. One issue that some people have in a variety of disciplines is that they assume that one study and one data sample, is definitive research, right? So you tested whether or not ice cream makes people go crazy. You got positive results. So you saw a positive relationship between eating ice cream and going, uh, I don't want to use the word crazy, and let's say going wild. And so now you want to publish that data and tell the world, or this kind of thing. You can't do that, right? One of the things that tends to be important is um, performing the same research several times to show that it's reliable and that people can quote unquote trust that research. And that's why you see in a lot of the top marketing journals, you cannot get into the journal with one or two studies, you need several. Another issue is the relationship between researchers and marketing managers. So if you go and work for a consumer insights team, right? So a lot of companies have these, whether it's tobacco companies, whether it's candy companies, so on and so forth. They're constantly trying to figure out how to please the consumer, new products, these kind of things. Um, but if you have a marketing manager who's on your case or you're too close to them, are you really giving objective feedback based on your findings? Um, some people might be able to, other people might feel pressured, right? I talked a minute ago about the peer pressure associated with something like Enron. The same thing can be true when you think about consumer insights. If you have a marketing manager who's giving you a lot of pressure to say, a new product performed well in a test market, you might fudge the data. You might lie to a group of investors, these kind of things. And so the researcher and marketing manager relationship needs to be not as close as some people would like. Another issue in marketing research is the participants that we use. So when we conduct studies, so on and so forth, there are some things that might happen to our research participants. One, we might not ask for informed consent. So people who engage in our research or take our research studies should be informed of what they're doing. Now, you might not inform them of every single thing you're doing, but you should say, hey, this research will take 20, 30 minutes. There is some level of fear appeal in this research. So if you're doing something to scare people, or this research is about candy, whatever it is, you need to kind of inform the consumer. We do manipulate consumers. Oftentimes, our manipulations should not be the most impactful. They're fairly benign. But if it's not fairly benign, then you need to do a debrief, right? So you need to let consumers know after the study that they were manipulated, why they were manipulated, and what you hope to get out of that manipulation. So the purpose of the study. Just like manipulation, we have some level of deception. Again, in those cases, you want to do some level of debriefing. Some studies have a level of psychological stress or de-stress. Distress. What I would say in this is that a debrief is not enough. Right. So if you have a study where you might put people under undue levels of stress, not only do you want to debrief, but you want to give people the option to talk to someone about the study. And that's very important. Last but not least, anonymity. It's always important that you make an attempt to make sure your sample is anonymous. A lot of people don't want their data, regardless of what the study was about, to be known. And so you want at the very least make sure that your participants are identified by a number or a letter, something other than their name, so it can't get back to them.